Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for this program preview for the Master of Science in Innovation and Venture Development. The MSIVD is a brand new one-year master's program at Arizona State University starting this fall 2020 through a joint partnership between the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, the W.P. Carey School of Business, and the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. My name is Jackie, and I'm the graduate coordinator for the MSIVD program. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about the admissions process and application requirements. I'll also be serving as an academic advisor for students admitted to the program. I want to get started today by going over the agenda of what we will be covering in this webinar. In just a few moments, I'll be introducing you to Cheryl Heller. She is the MSIVD program's director. She'll be introducing you to the program and talking about some potential program outcomes for MSIVD students, as well as looking at criteria for applicants. I will be then giving you some more general information about admission requirements and what you can expect from the application process. I'll also have some information for you about financial aid. And then we will have some time at the end for some Q&As. So if at any point in this webinar you do have any questions about anything that Cheryl or I are talking about, please do leave your questions in the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we will be sure to get to those for you at the end. So Cheryl Heller is the program director for MSIVD, the director of design integration and professor of practice and innovation design at Arizona State University, which is a joint position in the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, the W.P. Carey School of Business, and the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. Prior to joining ASU, she founded the first master's program in social design, an experience-based program whose graduates are working as creative leaders in government, industry, healthcare, technology, and global NGOs. She has founded 3 companies, advised global business leaders on creativity and innovation, and mentored hundreds of entrepreneurs. She is a recipient of the AIGA Lifetime Medal for her contributions to the field of design and a Rockefeller Bellagio Fellow. Her book, The Intergalactic Design Guide, Harnessing the Creative Energy of Social Design, is a manual for anyone wanting to use design to create a resilient future. Cheryl?
Thanks, Jackie, and welcome everybody. I would like to start just by summarizing what it is that's unique about this Master's in Innovation and Venture Development. First of all, you heard Jackie say it's a partnership between 3 schools, but it's 3 schools creating one program. So you don't have to enroll in 3 programs or work for 10 years to figure out what business, design, and engineering have to do with each other. We accept all undergraduate degrees, whether you're a veterinarian or a rocket scientist. It is experience-based. You will launch a venture while you're here. It's not taking time off to go to school. It's starting life right when you come. You'll leave with the skills of the future wherever you want to work. And you'll be part of absolutely matchless ecosystem of industry leaders and faculty. The network is not just our faculty and advisors, but their networks, as well as the wealth of relationships and people at ASU. I'm going to first talk about what you'll learn while you're in the program, not what we teach, but what you will take away, what you can do with it, and who we're looking for. This is the structure of the program. I'm not going to spend time on this. You know that it's a studio-based program. Chad Kennedy and Reva Drummond have done webinars on this. The links are available and they go into great detail on that. I have a favorite definition of design, and it comes not from a designer, but from a man named Herbert Simon, who is a Nobel laureate in economics. He said, everyone designs who devises courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. We all know that that's not an easy thing to do. It is actually one of the most complex and sophisticated things that humans are capable of, because we have to first imagine what it is that we want to create and then make countless calculations and moves to get there. So this is the heart of what you'll learn to do at IVD. And it's relevant everywhere for you, for your venture or your employer, whatever you decide to do. It's also important to understand the difference between technical and complex problems. Technical problems are sort of predictable. They are logical. You know where you are in the course of solving them, and you can plan. Complex problems are interconnected. They have more to do with human agency. They don't give up their secrets with any amount of analysis, and planning isn't worth much when you're doing it. So you have to experiment your way forward. Both of these types of problems are things that we'll be looking at and you'll be learning as part of IVD. To summarize, we want students to learn how to ask game-changing questions, the kinds of questions that open up completely new conversations, to solve unstructured problems, to master multiple ways of thinking, to develop disruptive insights, not just once, but to know how to do it again and again, to lead and to work with and learn from people who don't think like you, to get immediate feedback all through the course of the program from audiences who are relevant to what you're doing, to write and to speak like a leader, and most important, to discover your own agency, to discover the wherewithal that you have to invent, to take control, and to identify things that you want to change and have the skills to change them. People ask a lot what they can do with this degree once they graduate. And one of the facts about this program is that you will learn process and principles, and you'll gain experience that can be applied any place you want to go. So a degree like this gives you more choices of where you want to work, and you can work anywhere because you know how to work with anybody. You will graduate with an understanding of the 3 disciplines that are most critical to the success of any enterprise, which, as you know, are engineering, business, and design. Speaking of engineering, business, and design, one of our advisors is a man named Carl Vredenberg, who is one of the most senior designers at IBM, who has led their transition to a design-led culture. He knows everything about how engineering, business, and design come together, and thinks it's absolutely essential that people who join their company understand how to work in cross silos. You will leave with relationships with potential employers and investors that are all part of the MSIVD ecosystem. And you'll create your own opportunities, identifying challenges, analyzing them, facilitating solutions, and then implementing them. And most of all, the program helps you think about your own potential in a fresh and a bigger way, to reinvent yourself and then go out into the world prepared to make bigger things happen. So the point is that these are skills that aren't just required to get a job. These are the skills required to navigate the future, now more than ever before. We've put together a list, and we'll make this presentation available, of the kinds of titles that graduates will be able to get and the categories. People who come out of these transdisciplinary programs where they learn to innovate typically get jobs that are leading change within an organization, whatever their discipline is. And then finally, we are looking for people who are insatiable. We're looking for people who have an itch, that are not happy with the status quo, who want to write their own rules and make their own future. We're looking for people who are broadly curious. If you want to maintain your discipline in a very narrow field of expertise, this probably isn't the right program for you. But if you want to think about things at a systems level and you want to understand how the world works and how business works, then this is the perfect program. We're looking for people who are resourceful, who are self-starters, who want to take responsibility for their own learning. We're looking for great communicators because it's impossible to lead and it's impossible to be a part of a team unless you understand how to communicate successfully. And as another one of our advisors says, Bob R.A., we're looking for people who have more gas than brakes. I will turn it back over to Jackie to talk about the application requirements.
Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so to go over the application requirements in terms of materials that you'll need to apply, as Cheryl mentioned, you can apply to this program with a bachelor's degree in any field, so you do not necessarily need to have a degree in engineering or business or design in order to apply to this program. All applicants will need to submit a copy of their undergraduate transcripts. You can have your official transcripts sent to our graduate admissions office, but it may be a little bit quicker and easier for you right now to submit an unofficial copy of your transcripts through the online application if you do have access to unofficial transcripts. And then you would not be required to submit your official transcripts until you have been admitted. International students, if you are looking to meet ASU's English proficiency requirement, there are a variety of different ways that you can do that. One thing to note right now is that ASU is currently accepting the Duolingo English test for international applicants who might be affected by testing center closures due to COVID-19. So if you're an international student thinking about applying and are needing to meet English proficiency, that is one test that you can look into if you're looking for something that you can do at home right now. All applicants will also need to provide an up-to-date copy of their resume, as well as a letter of intent. The letter of intent is going to weigh heavily in the evaluation process of our applicants, so I do recommend giving a good deal of thought and time to your letter of intent. It should be no more than 3 pages double-spaced, but this is kind of your opportunity to introduce yourself to the MSIVD program faculty, to discuss your experience and any ideas and insights that you have that you think make you a particularly strong candidate, and to explain why you were interested in joining the MSIVD program. So as you may already know, we do have our priority application deadline coming up on April 15th, which is just a week away now, just over a week away. The application fee is currently being waived for all applications that are submitted by that priority deadline. So if you do plan to submit your application by April 15th, please make sure that you reach out to me. I'll have my contact information at the end of this slide or at the end of this presentation so that I can get that application fee waiver applied for you. That being said, though, we do expect that we will continue to review applications on a rolling basis until fall as well. So when you submit your application, it will be reviewed by our MSIVD program faculty, and then applicants who are moving on to the next stage in the evaluation process will be sent some additional questions to answer, and then we'll also be asked to schedule a 30-minute online interview. And then I wanted to also take just a couple of minutes to talk about the tuition for this program and some financial aid opportunities that might be available to you. So all students who are in the MSIVD program will be paying ASU's graduate-based tuition rate for each credit hour that they're enrolled in, as well as the ASU mandatory student fees for graduate students. And then all students will also have a $4,000 program fee for semester that is specific to the MSIVD program. The chart that I have up on the screen here is going to give you a breakdown of the average cost for one semester in this program for an Arizona resident. So it will break down for you the Arizona resident tuition, the program fee, and then the mandatory student fees that all ASU graduate students pay. If you are a non-resident student, or if you are an international student and you'd like to see how the base tuition rates compare for you, you can visit the link that's at the bottom of this screen, and that will allow you to input information that is specific to you so that you can see how your tuition rate would compare. But that $4,000 program fee is going to be the same for all students in the program. In terms of scholarships and financial aid, we do anticipate that some program funding will be available for scholarships for students. Priority consideration for that funding will be given to students who apply by the April 15th priority deadline. So if you would like to be considered for program funding, I do recommend getting your application in by that deadline. Another thing to note is that the program does have a STEM designation as well. What that means is that programs that have a STEM designation offer expanded benefits for veterans. It also opens students in these programs up to scholarship programs that are specific to students in STEM fields. So if you are looking for other outside scholarship and funding opportunities available, a really great place to start is looking at those scholarship programs for STEM students. Okay, so that is everything that I had to cover today. We do have some time left for questions. So if you have any questions and you haven't already, please leave them in the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we will take a look at those now and try to get to as many as we can. So I do see we have a question about if we can speak in more detail to the interview process for those applicants who are moving on. So as I mentioned, when I was talking about the application requirements, your initial application will be evaluated, and then you may be sent some additional questions and asked to schedule an interview. So that will be an online interview. We expect it will be about 30 minutes. Cheryl, is there any other insight that you can offer to applicants at this time as to what they would expect from that interview process?
I think it's not a difficult interview. I think what we're interested in is making sure that people really have a passion to be an entrepreneur or founder, whether they do that inside a large corporation. But that is the one non-negotiable attribute, I think, is a passion to create something. So we'll be just listening for that. We will be reviewing all of the submitted materials in advance. So so the conversation can be just about what it is that you want to do with this program and why this is appealing to you.
Okay, great, thank you. It looks like we also have the question of what opportunities students will have to make connections with potential employers while they're in the program. Cheryl, is that something you can speak to as well?
Yeah, I can speak to that. We've spent a lot of time developing a network of potential employers who are already, in fact, for the past couple of years, have been behind this program and have been advising us on what they want in graduates. So those relationships are there, and those people and many others will be part of the program. They'll be mentors in the program. They will meet students at every big milestone presentation. And there's something else that I have found about first cohorts, that it's sort of the first child syndrome, that no one will let you fail. You know, this will be the most important thing to everyone involved, that this class do brilliant work and end up with stellar careers coming from it. So you've got a whole lot of people who are focused on your success, and you're doing exactly what you want to do.
Okay. We have another question now, which I think kind of ties into that last one, but maybe you can elaborate on this as well. They say, you mentioned the opportunities for graduates from this type of program. How does this new program compare to other existing programs with an existing track record?
What we know for certain is that people who solve problems across silos, across divisions, people who understand how to take an idea and see it through are infinitely hireable, more hireable than siloed experts. So there are numbers about that. This is a program that is unique. We haven't found another program that focuses on venture development with 3 schools together, but we can look at similar programs that teach or that teach part of it, that teach innovation. And as I say, there's lots of research about what employers are looking for. There's lots of research about the gap, and Carl Friedenberg talks a lot about the gap in education when a company like IBM goes to hire people, what they don't know because they haven't had this experience-based transdisciplinary learning.
Thank you. We have another question now. Has consideration been given to how the program will adapt if the fall semester is online, and can the studio classes translate well over Zoom? So I will just say that, you know, I know that Cheryl and our other MSIVD program faculty are actively working to adapt the program to be potentially delivered online in the fall if need be. I mean, I think it is important to stress that the program is intended to be a campus-based program. So if you are thinking about starting the program in the fall, if we do need to deliver online, we'll be able to do that. But ultimately, we hope that students will eventually end up on campus. Cheryl, do you have any other thoughts to add on that as well?
Well, I wish any of us knew what the summer and fall will be like. As Jackie said, we are hoping that we are back on campus, but we are preparing to offer this program regardless. We are now offering similar courses to this program, studio-based courses, and it's going fine. And we will spend the summer being ready for any eventuality, hoping that we will be back on campus working on. We've got amazing new space that's being designed just for this program that is conducive to collaboration and innovation. So we hope to be in there as soon as possible.
Okay, great. So that looks like all the questions that we have so far. We do still have just a few minutes left. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to submit them now. In the meantime, I do want to just reiterate that the priority deadline is approaching on April 15th, and we are currently waiving the application fee for any applicants who are submitting by that priority deadline. As I mentioned earlier, we will be doing that, and you'll just need to reach out to me directly, and I'll have my contact information at the end here if you want to get that application fee waiver applied. I do actually see that we have another question now. What will the studio experience be like? Cheryl, is that something that you can
Is that something that we can summarize quickly? We've talked a lot about the studio experience. Studio-based learning, as we've said many times, is experience-based learning. It is an atmosphere that is really safe for failing quickly, whether you think about it as failing or iterating. It's an environment where the faculty are guides and mentors. There will be lectures, but they're not long lectures. So you are doing and you are putting into practice what you're learning. You could think about it as just-in-time learning, right? Because we're thinking a lot about how to calibrate content to be timely for when teams will need it. But it's completely immersive. When I talked about getting feedback all the time, right? You are never sort of learning something and then taking a test a couple of weeks later. You are completely engaged physically and mentally and with all of your senses in creating what you're creating. You will be working in a team. There is a support class each semester on leadership that will help you with team dynamics, help you with communication, help you with ethical dilemmas and how to make sure that you're getting to act on the principles that you have. There will be lots of supplemental lectures that you can access anytime you want. People who have expertise in related things, and because we're at ASU and because we're the nature of the program is as custom focused as it is, we'll be sourcing people to connect you to depending on what it is you're doing. So if you've got an invention in healthcare that triggers a part of our network and a kind of learning that will serve that. So it's hard to explain what it's like in a short time, but if you haven't been through one, it's as I say, it's a completely consuming experience. You are living your venture and you are living the learning process.
Awesome, thank you. I see we have another question now. What will the schedule be like for the first 12 credit hour term? Do you expect classes to be 2 days a week, 3, 5? So to answer that question, right now for the schedule for fall, we are looking at classes taking place on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you would be in your lecture class and then immediately after go into your studio space. For the 2 classes altogether, I believe that the schedule will be around 12 to 4:15 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then students in the first 2 semesters will also be completing elective credits. You're going to be doing 6 credits total of electives in the program. So there probably is a bit more flexibility in terms of what your schedule would look like for when those elective classes take place. But for the core courses that you'll be completing in the first 2 semesters, it's going to be 2 days a week, those Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon.
People typically ask that question because they want to know about working while they're in the program. This is a full-time program, but people can absolutely work while they're in school. What you need to have is a schedule that's flexible enough so that you don't have to be there from 9 to 5 every day. Because in addition to classes, you're going to want to make time to meet with your team outside of class. You're going to make time to meet with mentors and connections that you'll make. But the reality of today is such that people need to work while they're in school, and we're expecting that.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have just a couple minutes left. If we could just move to the last slide, I want to bring my contact information up just so that everybody has that. If you do want to reach out to me, if you have any other questions about the program, if you'd like to set up a time to speak with me one-on-one about the program, and then as I mentioned before, if you are planning to apply by the April 15th deadline and you would like to get the application fee waiver applied to your application, please contact me as well, and I'd be happy to help you with that. Actually, I have one other question here that I see, Cheryl, that I think it might be good to answer before we finished up. Do we need to have identified a focus of interest before beginning the program?
That is such an excellent question. We want people who are passionate about issues and areas and who come with questions that they're dying to solve and problems that they're dying to solve. We make a distinction that we're not looking for people who have an answer. We're not looking for people who have a gadget that they want to make and they're looking to put a team together in an incubator or something. This process and this program teaches you how to start with a need or a pain point and go through all of the steps required to identify that, to reframe the question, to ideate. So even if you have a gadget that you want to do when you get through the program, we're committed to teaching you how to start with nothing but that problem. So no. Sorry. You don't need to know what you want to do.
Okay, so we are just about out of time. I do want to just thank everyone so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, please contact me if you do have any other questions. We'll look forward to seeing your applications. And Cheryl, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us tonight as well.
Thanks, Jackie, and thanks everyone for coming.
Have a great night.